Welcome to this inspiring journey where everything begins with just one step. Sometimes the hardest part is not the journey itself, it's taking that first small step forward. Today, we bring you a story that shows how a simple decision, a small action, can change a life forever. This is The Step That Changed My Life, a story of courage, hope, and the power of beginning. 1. The Step That Changed My Life. My name is Ria, and this is the story of how one small step changed everything for me. For most of my life, I was afraid of failure, afraid of people laughing at me, and most of all, afraid of trying something new. I used to dream of becoming a writer. I would sit quietly in my room, writing stories and poems in an old notebook, but I never showed them to anyone. I thought, who would want to read my words? Every day I went to my job at a small store. It was simple work, stocking shelves, helping customers, and coming home tired. I smiled, but inside I felt empty. I wanted more. I wanted to do something meaningful. I wanted to follow my dream. One evening, while scrolling through my phone, I saw a quote: "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." I stared at it for a long time. Could one small step really make a difference? That night, I made a decision. I would take the first step. I went to my drawer, took out my notebook, and typed one story on my computer. It was short, simple, and not perfect, but it was mine. Then I did something even scarier. I posted it online. I didn't expect anything, but the next morning I saw a comment. "This story touched my heart. Thank you for sharing." I cried. Someone had read my story. Someone cared. That one message gave me hope. I continued writing. Every week I shared a new story. Slowly, more people began to read and comment. Some shared my work with their friends. My confidence grew, and I felt alive for the first time in years. A few months later, I received a message from a small online magazine. They wanted to publish my stories. I couldn't believe it. My hands were shaking, but my heart was full. Today, I am a full-time writer. I still remember the girl who was afraid to take that first step. I wish I could hug her and say, "You are stronger than you think." The truth is, it wasn't a big step. It was just a small act of courage. But that step was the step that changed my life. Never underestimate the power of a single step. One small action, one brave decision, can lead to a life you never imagined. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Begin now, because sometimes the first step is the hardest and the most powerful. 2. One step to a new beginning. My name is Arjun, and not long ago, my life felt like it was standing still. I had no clear direction. I was stuck in a job I didn't love, surrounded by people who didn't believe in dreams, including me. Every day felt the same. Wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. My dreams of becoming a photographer were buried deep inside me. I loved capturing beauty in people, nature, and simple moments, but I had never owned a real camera. I used to take pictures on my phone, hiding them away, thinking they weren't good enough. Then came my birthday. I received some money from relatives. It wasn't much, but enough to buy a used digital camera. I held it in my hands, unsure. A voice in my head whispered, "You're not a real photographer. What are you trying to do?" But another voice said, "Just take one step. Just try." So I did. I went out one morning and took pictures of the sunrise over the river. The light, the colors, the calm. It was beautiful. And for the first time in a long while, so was the feeling inside me. I posted one photo online, just one. That post got a few likes, then a few shares. People started asking, "Did you take this?" It's amazing. It was the first time someone appreciated what I truly loved. I took more pictures, more walks, more risks. I started saving money to upgrade my gear. I learned about photography from free online classes and practiced every day. 1 year later, I quit my job, not because I had everything figured out, but because I knew I had finally begun. Today, I work as a freelance photographer. I shoot weddings, nature, portraits, anything that tells a story. I travel, I meet new people, and I feel alive, all because of that one step, buying a used camera and believing in myself for just one moment. Every new beginning starts with one brave step. You don't need to see the whole path. Just take the first step in the direction of your dream. The road will appear as you walk. 3. The first step of hope. I'm Mira, and there was a time in my life when I had lost all hope. I had just failed my final exams in college. Not once, but twice. My friends moved on, got jobs, and started new lives. I felt like I was left behind, stuck in a dark place with no way out. Everywhere I went, people looked at me with pity or disappointment. Relatives whispered, "She had so much potential." Some said, "Maybe she's just not smart enough." I started believing them. I stopped going outside. I stayed in my room most days, staring at the ceiling, crying quietly. My parents didn't say much, but I could feel their pain. They didn't want to give up on me. And deep down, I didn't want to give up on myself either. One evening, my younger brother walked into my room. He handed me a notebook and said, "You used to love writing. You always told me stories. Why don't you write one now?" I smiled weakly. I hadn't touched a pen in months, but something about his words felt warm, like a small light in a dark room. So I opened the notebook and I wrote one line, just one. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even good, but it was mine. That was my first step of hope. The next day, I wrote a paragraph, then a page, then a full story. I started feeling alive again. I began to read books and study again, slowly, without pressure, without fear. I reappeared for my exams and passed. Not just passed, I did well. People were surprised. I wasn't. I had found my strength again, not through pressure or fear, but through hope. Now I work as a school teacher, teaching kids how to read and write. I tell them stories about never giving up. I tell them how one small step, even if it's just writing one line, can change your life. Hope doesn't always come in big moments. Sometimes it comes in silence, in small acts, in one line on a page. No matter how dark it seems, take one small step. That step can be the light that leads you out. 4. A journey begins with courage. My name is Kabir, and this story begins with fear, not courage. Since childhood, I had one dream: to speak on stage, to inspire others with my words. I admired public speakers, watching them confidently stand in front of crowds. But when it was my turn to speak, my voice would shake, my hands would sweat, my heart would race. In school, I avoided speaking in class. In college, I missed chances to give presentations. I kept telling myself, "I'm not brave enough. Maybe it's just not for me." Then one day, my college announced a small event, a storytelling competition. Just 5 minutes on stage, just a small audience. I told myself again, don't do it. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice said, "What if you try?" That night, I wrote my story. I practiced in front of the mirror. I read it aloud to my best friend, who smiled and said, "You can do this." On the day of the event, I almost backed out. My name was called. My legs were shaking as I walked to the stage. I couldn't feel my fingers as I held the mic. Then I looked up and saw kind faces. No one was there to judge me. They just wanted to listen. So I began to speak. At first, I was nervous, but slowly my voice became stronger. I told my story. People laughed at the funny parts. Some nodded, and when I finished, they clapped. Not just a polite clap, a real, warm, honest applause. That was the day my journey truly began. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was mine. From that moment on, I kept speaking in college events, local functions, and eventually larger stages. Today, I am a motivational speaker. I've spoken in front of thousands, but nothing compares to that first time when I stood up in fear and walked forward with courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. Even a shaky first step can lead you to the place you've always dreamed of.
5. One small step, one big change. I'm Nina, and this is the story of how a simple habit transformed my life. I used to be someone who gave up easily. I started many things, learning guitar, exercising, reading, but I never finished anything. Every time I faced a small challenge, I quit. I told myself, it's too hard. Maybe I'm not meant for this. One day, I was scrolling through social media and saw a post that said, "Don't focus on doing everything. Just start with 5 minutes a day." It sounded too easy. But something about it stayed with me. The next morning, I made a decision. I would walk for 5 minutes. That's all. No pressure. No goals. Just 5 minutes around my neighborhood. I put on my shoes and stepped outside. The walk was quiet. Peaceful. I returned home, feeling a little better. The next day, I did it again. Then again. Soon, 5 minutes became 10, 10 became 20. After a few weeks, my body felt lighter. My mood improved. I started sleeping better. That one small habit began to change not just my health, but my mindset. I thought, if I can stick to this, maybe I can try something else. So I picked up my guitar again. Just 5 minutes a day. And slowly, I started playing full songs. I began reading again, 1 page a day. And soon, I was finishing books. Today, I'm a different person. I still take small steps, but now I know. Small steps, taken daily, can create a big life. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to start. One small step, repeated with love and patience, can lead to big, lasting change. 6. The path opened by one step. My name is Alman, and for years, I felt lost. After finishing school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I watched my friends move ahead. Some went to college, some started jobs, and others followed their dreams. But I stayed home, confused and unsure. Every day felt the same, slow, empty, and meaningless. My parents tried to help. They asked me what I wanted. But I didn't have an answer. I was afraid to fail. Afraid to choose the wrong path. So I chose nothing. Then one morning, my uncle came to visit. He sat beside me and asked, "Do you want to come with me tomorrow? I run a small repair shop. You don't have to do anything. Just watch. I almost said no. But something inside whispered, just try. So I said yes. The next day, I followed him to the small, noisy shop. I watched him fix wires, fans, radios, things I never paid attention to before. I helped hand him tools. I asked a few questions. It wasn't exciting, but it was something. I kept going every day. I began helping more. Fixing small things. Learning with my hands. I started enjoying it. 1 month later, he let me repair a small radio. It worked. I felt proud. For the first time in a long time, I felt useful. That one step, walking into the shop, opened a path I never expected. Today, I run my own small electronics repair center. I've trained others. I love my work because it has purpose. But none of it would have happened if I hadn't taken that first step out of my house, into the unknown. You don't need to see the full road ahead. Just take one step. The path often appears only after you begin walking. That one step can lead you to your true purpose. 7. Brave enough to begin. My name is Tara, and for a long time, I thought bravery meant doing something big. Like climbing mountains or starting a business. I didn't realize that sometimes, bravery simply means starting, even when you're scared. After college, I dreamed of starting my own handmade jewelry business. I loved making earrings and necklaces, and my friends always said, "You should sell these." But every time I thought about it, I felt nervous. What if no one buys them? What if people laugh? I'm not good enough. I spent months just thinking, dreaming, and doubting. One day, I went to a local market. I saw a young woman selling handmade soaps. Her stall was small, but people were smiling, buying, asking questions. She looked nervous too, but happy. I walked up to her and said, "Your soaps are beautiful." She smiled and replied, "Thank you. This is my first day." I almost didn't come. That one line hit me hard. She was scared too, but she showed up. That evening, I decided to be brave, just brave enough to begin. I created an Instagram page and posted a photo of a pair of earrings I made. My hands were shaking as I hit share. But then, someone messaged me, "Are these for sale?" My heart jumped. That was the beginning. Slowly, I started getting orders. I learned about packaging, shipping, pricing. I made mistakes, but I kept going. I joined weekend markets. I smiled at strangers. I told them my story. Now, I run my own online jewelry store. It's still growing, still small, but it's mine. And it began because one day, I decided to be brave enough to begin. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave enough to start. Every great journey begins with a first, uncertain step, and the courage to take it. 8. The power in a single step. I'm Raj, and I never believed that one small action could change a person's entire life, until it changed mine. In my final year of school, I was quiet, average, and mostly invisible. I wasn't good at sports, I wasn't top of the class, and I didn't have many friends. I often felt like I didn't matter. I used to think, I'm just one person. What difference can I make? Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. It was raining heavily. Everyone was running to get home. As I was walking out of school, I saw a boy from my class, Arif, sitting alone, soaking wet, trying to protect his books under a small plastic bag. He didn't have an umbrella or a raincoat. Most people passed him without a glance. I hesitated for a moment, then walked up and said, "Hey, want to share my umbrella?" He looked up, surprised, then smiled and nodded. We walked in silence for a while. Then he said, "You're the first person who spoke to me today." That one simple step, sharing an umbrella, led to a friendship I never expected. We began talking more in class. He introduced me to others. I started opening up. I joined a group project. I started participating, speaking, feeling seen. That one kind gesture gave me confidence. I began helping others more, not with big things, just small steps, carrying a bag, giving a smile, saying hello. And slowly, I changed. I became someone who believed in connection, in kindness, in showing up. Today, I work with a non-profit organization, helping underprivileged students gain education and support. It all started with one simple act, one single step. You don't need to do something huge to make a difference. A single step, taken with kindness or courage, holds great power. Sometimes, one moment is all it takes to change your path and someone else's. 9. Stepping into my future. My name is Sana, and for a long time, I felt stuck, unsure about what my future would look like. After finishing school, I wasn't sure which path to take. Everyone around me seemed to have a plan. Some went to college, others started working. But I just felt lost and confused. One day, a teacher told me, "Sana, sometimes you don't need to have all the answers. Just take one small step, and the future will start to unfold." I didn't believe her at first. But I decided to try. I signed up for a short computer course, even though I was scared I might fail. The first day was hard. I didn't understand much. I wanted to quit. But I remembered the teacher's words. I took a deep breath and kept going. Slowly, I learned new skills, typing, basic coding, and how to use software. Each day, I felt a little more confident. After finishing the course, I got a small internship at a local company. It wasn't a big job, but it was a start. That small step changed everything. I realized that the future isn't about knowing everything now. It's about moving forward, learning, and growing. Today, I work as a web designer. I still have dreams and goals, but I'm no longer afraid. I know every step I take brings me closer to the future I want. Your future begins with a single step. You don't have to have all the answers today. Just start. The path will become clearer as you walk. 10. The first step to becoming me. My name is Anya, and this is the story of how I found myself, one step at a time. Growing up, I always tried to fit in. I copied what others did, said what they wanted to hear, and hid my true feelings. I was afraid to be different because I thought no one would accept me. But deep inside, I felt lost. I didn't know who I really was. One day, a friend invited me to join a dance class. I had never danced before, but something inside me said, "Try it." The first class was terrifying. I felt awkward and clumsy. I wanted to quit after just 10 minutes. But the teacher smiled and said, "It's okay to be a beginner. The important thing is to start." That night, I practiced in my room. The next day, I went back to class. Slowly, I began to enjoy dancing. I discovered joy in moving my body and expressing myself. Each step I took on the dance floor helped me find a little more confidence. I started sharing my thoughts more openly. I made new friends who accepted me as I am. Today, dancing is not just a hobby, it's a way I express who I truly am. I'm still learning, growing, and discovering myself. But everything began with that first step, the courage to try something new, to be myself. Becoming yourself starts with one small step. Don't be afraid to try, to stumble, or to be different. The journey to who you are begins when you take that first brave step. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, every big change starts with just one small step. No matter where you are right now, the power to change your life is already in your hands. Take that first step today, because your journey to something amazing begins with just one step.